Facebook Live, everybody. Microphones are on.
Welcome back. You're listening to Talk Recovery at Vancouver Co-op Radio, 100.5 CFRO. We are now back in the studio. Welcome to our viewers on Facebook and all our listeners on listening to the Co-op Radio. This is Talk Recovery every Thursday at noon, and today, like every week, we have a personal story. And today we have Jeremy. Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. Now, was this where you hail from?
Chilliwack originally.
Chilliwack. Okay.
Now I'm a New West stomper.
Right on. Right on. So, what was it like? Susan spoke a little bit about what it was like coming into the downtown. What was it like for you?
I never made it down into like the downtown east side. My older sister, she's been around here for like, I think she's been on the streets since she was like 17 around this area and stuff, so it hits home for me, but I never really made it down here. Not to say that my addiction wasn't nearly as bad, I just had I had a lot of like my family supporting me and I guess maybe enabling me a little bit, but yeah, it like Susan was saying, like the pain in their eyes, it just brings me right back to when I was like at my like lowest point, ready to go to treatment.
Okay, so I guess that's the point. Sometimes we feel you can either drive through the downtown east side and think it's just a bunch of people making really bad decisions for themselves, and it's not my duty or responsibility to help, and that I guess is the point. I mean, it's not a coincidence that there's literally family members out there right now. And, it's just a perspective, I think, for our listeners and viewers is to consider that everybody out there is a part of somebody's family.
Yeah.
Somebody's daughter, it's somebody's mom, it's somebody's brother, and that's just the reality. Back to your story, you talked about the bottom before treatment. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
I've struggled with with opiates since I was about 22 on and off. Like most of the stories that I've hear from people that are addicted to heroin, I got a prescription for some opiates and I enjoyed it and I abused them right away. and then I manipulated my doctor into giving me a way too large of a prescription for it, and then eventually it was not as accessible as I wanted it to be, so I turned to heroin, and I was on and off the Suboxone program in Chilliwack. I went to the clinic a few times, and I had maybe a year the first time, and then a year and a year and a half the second time from being on Suboxone, but that's just being off opiates. Like I was nowhere near clean. I was still using other drugs. I was replacing my opiates with party drugs and alcohol but I eventually, like, it got to the third time that I relapsed back onto opiates. I decided to, I overdosed. Luckily, one of my friends found me. I was pronounced dead for a couple minutes and all that, like, horrible stuff, and it still wasn't enough to get me into treatment, but I eventually I got a number from a friend, and I called them, and they got me into treatment, which saved my life.
So, prescription from a legit doctor, whether he knew what he was doing or maybe ignorantly didn't know what he was doing. Really quickly, what was the problem? Why did they give you opiates?
I was playing sports and I injured my knee, and he prescribed me Percocets and
wow.
Yeah, like a heavy painkiller for such, like, I
Did you shatter your knee?
No.
Did you lose your leg
No.
from the knee down?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, this is our anyway, so we could rant about that forever.
Yeah.
Absolutely unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary. Absolutely.
And then put some ice on it and
rest it.
Rest
Do
it.
some physio.
And then you, sir, deal with the pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
On your own. But I guess that's the weakness when pain kicks in, right? And we know that there's something out there that can mask it a little bit. That's what we're doing.
Instant gratification.
Absolutely. And Suboxone would have been no different than that.
No.
So now you've been on and off Suboxone, the other drugs on top, back and forth. You OD.
Yeah.
So was this the last time you ever used?
No, it wasn't enough for me to not use. I continued to, for about 6 months after I overdosed, I continued to use. And
did you take any precautions, any care after dying,
No. No.
Because why not? Are you just you bad decision maker? Or?
I guess so. A chronic bad decision maker. I don't know. It wasn't enough to scare me away from it. Eventually, I wasn't, like everyone says, and in the end, I wasn't using to enjoy it. Like, none of my friends used heroin or did meth or anything like that. And I don't know why I carried on with it. But
so, can you describe to people that don't understand? Can you describe why something that could kill you, it's not enough to stop? Like, can you put that in your own experience?
Man, I don't know what it was. Even the love of my own, my daughters and my kids, that stuff could not keep me clean. Nothing has been able to keep me clean except for the long-term treatment and programs, going into the rooms, NA and stuff like that. It nothing was ever enough. You'd think that your own children would be enough to, she's my world, and you'd think that'd be enough to keep me clean, but it wasn't. It's sad, but
I mean, that's the grip of addiction. That is the description of it that any addict, no matter what they use, can sort of relate to. They'll choose that. And I hate to use the word choice, but it's still a choice, but it's coming from a place of, Susan talked about being broken. It comes from a place of a lot of unresolved pain that's going on. So that choice that we're making to use that drug, knowing what some of the consequences could be.
Yeah, it wasn't in the end. It was honestly, it was just it was also just because I didn't want to go through withdrawals. I didn't want to get sick. You know what I mean? It wasn't even enjoyable, really.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy destroying my family and stuff like that.
Imagine if you knew that the pain of withdrawal was going to be so much worse than the pain that you had when you hurt your knee.
Oh, right? I know. Forget it.
Here's a pill that's going to give you pain.
I'll take the knee pain.
You will never know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
But again, our sort of our government suing, the opioid companies for this ignorance around, what's actually being doled out and what for and that type of thing. And there's so many victims of these circumstances, but who's to say, had you not been given that prescription, would you have, was there other issues going on and addictive traits that, down the road you would have been a cocaine addicted person more
Absolutely.
than heroin?
Well, I was using cocaine and other party drugs before they gave me that prescription.
Right.
So, who's to say that, I used other drugs too, so I can't blame my addiction on that, but it was just another drug that got introduced to me that took me down. Right?
Yeah, and just an example of how and when and where solutions and resources could have been there to help you, and how it just, sent you down a different road. But it did lead you to eventually going into treatment.
Yeah.
And you said long term. How long were you there?
I was in primary treatment for 4 months. It's a 3-month program, but I stayed there for primary for 4 months, and I was in transition for another 3.5 after that.
Okay.
I wanted to do it once. I didn't want to have to do this thing over and over again.
So you've never been to treatment before?
No, that was my first go.
Okay. Without having previous experiences of treatment and thinking it doesn't work or doesn't, you were sort of open to
absolutely
whatever is going to be told and taught and
took
sometimes forced.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what was it like? Was it difficult? Did did it interfere with current beliefs? Did you feel like there was an authority telling you what you had to do and had to go, and you were just going along with it?
Yeah, I mean, I clearly what I was doing wasn't working, so I was open to whatever suggestions I needed to do to get clean, and I mean, sometimes I didn't agree with it, but I'm taking advice like Susan was talking about before, of like from people that have 30 years clean, and they know the program and it's been working for them. So like, why wouldn't I take these suggestions from these people? I mean, and it worked clearly. Like I'm 19 months clean right now, and my life is, it's better than I've ever, like, it just keeps getting better.
So you go in. How old was your daughter when you came into treatment?
She is just about turning 8, so she was 6.5.
Okay. So, big topic, I know, for men and women with children, and it all depends on, their age, and, daddy's going into the hospital, daddy's sick, and, sometimes did you have a lot of conflict around telling your daughter, or did she figure things out by 5 and 4 as she's watching you go through this?
Well, she actually, I'm pretty sure that she still thinks that I went to treatment for smoking cigarettes, right? I mean, that's what was in her head. But I mean, I take her to NA, I bring her to meetings with me and stuff like that, and she's a really smart kid, so I wouldn't put it past her that she doesn't know what's going on, right? But I mean, but yeah, it was tough to, like, that's the good thing about the treatment center I went to. I was allowed to bring my daughter there on the weekends, and she stayed overnight there with me and stuff like that. So, I mean, she was involved a lot in my recovery, and it was really cool. All the guys in the house loved having her around, and it was really neat, actually.
See, I think a big part of stigma that happens about recovery is that people would never bring their daughter to the downtown east side and sort of like let them congregate and socialize with the people on the street. So why, would it be so commonplace to bring a daughter into a treatment center? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So these are the questions, and these are the opinions of people.
Yeah, from
and
outside.
what's going to happen, but they're missing what actually happens in the environment, in the social setting. What happens when moral people, have given up the powerlessness and the addiction and things like that, and become themselves again. And I've heard it time and time again that people's children that bring them into the treatment are just surrounded by 20 uncles.
Yeah, straight up. Like, I had no idea what I was expecting. Like I said, I'd never been to treatment before. What I had in my head when I was agreed to go to treatment was hospital, white coats, counselors that, with degrees that have never done a drug in their life and stuff like that, and the door is nothing like that. Absolutely nothing like that. You're integrated in society. They push you to, like, volunteer in community events, and you become a part of, like, New West, and like, we're really respected in our community for the most part. Like, I mean, we don't, like, we're the type of guys that'll, like, step aside on the sidewalk to make sure that people walk around, like, don't have to walk around us and stuff like that. Like, I feel like the door breeds, like, men, turns children into men. Like, it's definitely not what I thought treatment was going to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been to those institutions with the white coats, and I've been there, and it's hard to build, what we're calling recovery capital in an individual, as you're walking down the hallways, sort of drooling, holding
Shuffling.
yeah.
Detox shuffle.
But as you describe being put into environmental positions to where you're now making a choice to step aside off the sidewalk to help somebody across the street, to pick up some litter, to help volunteer in the community, like that's the component that
The connection piece.
That is the cure to addiction. It is the biggest relapse prevention is to become a part of a community and get connected in that way. That being said, you're not cured. right? So what is it that you continue to do for yourself and for your recovery?
We talk about doing the basics, like I attend meetings regularly, and I'm continuously doing steps. Like I've already done a set of 12 steps, and now I'm on my second set, halfway through it. I'm in a step group with some of my close friends that I've made in recovery. I got rid of all my, toxic friends, and I've I make sure that I make sure that I have fun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when people used to ask me what I did for fun, it would be I partied, I did drugs. That's what I did for fun, right? Like I don't know, I lost all my hobbies that I used to have. Like I used to snowboard and skateboard and all that all the time, and then as soon as I started using drugs, that stuff got taken away. So I make sure, I've got back into all that stuff, and when I go to concerts, I remember them, and I don't wake up dead the next day, and I stay involved in service and things that all things recovery. It's like I've turned my drug culture into like a recovery culture kind of thing in my life, I guess. That's, yeah.
So people talk about it like, the things that we should be able to do on our own. How old are you?
32.
As a 32-year-old man, do you start to get this sense of the aspects in life that you shouldn't have to take care of on your own by yourself? That you're learning that there's going to be, for the rest of your life, areas that you need help.
Absolutely. The second that you can't be teachable and ask for help is the second that you're going down, I think. And when you think you know everything, it's like death for us addicts, right? Like, I mean, if I'm struggling, I'm gonna ask someone for help. That's just the bottom line. We don't have to struggle alone. That's what this problem, like the recovery in this program is all about, is we have people to lean on, people with multiple years, and even like new guys that are coming into the program, like they can help us just as much as we can help them.
You become the person that you've been looking for suggestions and advice from. You become that.
That's exactly it.
For someone else.
12 step all the way through.
Within just the beginning of your new life.
Mm-hmm.
So that again, that builds that experience and that capital, that value of being somebody. Because I mean, let's face it. Like we talk about a lot of shame, and whether or not we should be ashamed of addiction. And I mean, I don't know if I could feel ashamed of myself that I got addicted, but I do feel ashamed of myself for the things that I've done in my,
Yeah. But it's not about what you've done, it's about what you're doing now, right?
And how that complements your past, if you will. And what's your future? What's like, okay, so now you have control back in your life.
Yeah.
There's no threat that you're going to die today.
No.
What's the future look like?
Whatever I want it to look like, man. I don't know. I've removed myself. I grew up in Chilliwack for 20 years. I removed myself. I moved out to New West because the energy is insane there, and I've made all these new friends, and I mean, like, I've always, like, I have my red seal and stuff, and I always had a career. Even through my addiction, I managed to somewhat function. So, but like I'm getting promoted at work, and they're giving me all this new responsibility and stuff like that. Like, I finally feel that I can do whatever I want. Like, I got a passport for the first time I've ever had one. Right? Like,
you're going places. Exactly.
So I don't know, man. I feel like I can do whatever I want now. It's there's nothing holding me back.
Wicked, Jared. That's something that I've always said too. Like, you get people that come in and they're resistant, and they're just like, I don't want to have to do this because I just want to be able to do whatever I want. But it's just like, yeah, but that's killing you.
Yeah, this is what allows you to do whatever you want.
and that makes it open for interpretation of whatever, travel, family, and I just, doing this, like making the decision to come in and share your story, and share, with people, like, I think I agree with Susan. It's what's missing, you know.
Yeah, that's what this is about. It's possible, right?
It is possible.
Like, it's possible to do this. So,
and I hope one day, you know, that your story reaches your sister or you know, friends and whoever that can see this and know that it's possible.
yeah, man.
Jeremy, thanks for coming down today.
No problem.
This has been Talk Recovery on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. Stay tuned for World Poetry Cafes coming up. And have a great week, everybody. We'll see you at Recovery Day. This is the Dirty Heads. Believe.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Good job.